All right. Well, welcome to the first episode of the political playbook. This is just going to be a podcast where we discuss current events, uh, pop culture, anything that is just happening or is newsworthy for the week or whenever we decide to record. I'm Darren, and my co-host is Wyatt. And Wyatt, do you want to say anything to kick it off?
Yeah, welcome to the first episode. You're one of the originals, and this is basically going to go over anything politics, culture, and philosophy. We'll cover everything from religion to Trump's agenda. So it should be fun. We're in for a busy 4 years and an entertaining 4 years. So buckle up and enjoy the quality content, fellas.
All right, all right. Well, I think I think the first topic I wanted to hit off on was the unfortunate gesture made by Elon Musk. Now, what is your opinion on this? I have a
You
feeling
want to
we're gonna
start
have.
here? You want to start on this? Are you kidding me?
Oh yeah, I'm down to start. Well,
All right, rock on, rock
it's
on.
not like we're gonna be, you know, endorsing anything. We'll keep everything clean. We're keeping
Of
everything.
course, yeah. It was a Roman salute, damn it.
I figured that would be the line you take, but so are you 100% on the line that it was?
Listen,
Uh, okay, go on, go.
listen. Let's just call a spade here. I mean, let's. Elon is a slight bit. What did they say that he was? He was uh
Uh,
intellectually challenged or whatever.
oh yeah, yeah. Well, he
Neurologically
is
divergent. That's what they said.
neurodivergent. Yes, is that what the ADL said? I don't.
Yes. No, no, no. They said, oh yeah, the 80. We'll get to them in a second. No, listen, I have no doubt in my mind that this was on purpose. I don't think that he's a well, let's just say mustache man sympathizer for the regulations.
Oh yes.
Um, he's not actually one of those guys, but I think he just thought it was going to be funny and he was trolling. I don't think that there's any doubt in my mind that this is exactly what we saw it was. He did it twice for clarification, for God's sakes. And you're telling me that there are people out there saying, no, it was just an awkward gesture and he got really emotional. It's like, dude, I can't buy the fact that this guy's some Batman or Iron Man, some billionaire playboy, but somehow he's also like the dumbest person in front of a microphone. I just refuse to believe both things. So,
You know what? I will say I'm coming more so to your side. When I first saw it, you know me, I'm kind of like a I can be very overly charitable, I think,
sure.
perhaps.
Sure.
I tend to try and see the best in people, give people the benefit of the doubt. And I would say right now, here's where I'm at. I'm at like 40%, I think, honest, like 40%, it may have just been like some, uh, you know, neurodivergent, Asperger induced spasm of joy. Who knows? Who knows? It's possible. I won't totally rule it out. But I think what it really is, and this has some context to do with it, but I guess our listeners will know now that we're recording it, that a week or so before the famous My Heart Goes Out to You incident with Elon, he had this big Twitter war regarding H-1B visa recipients,
Right.
and he had upset the further right flank of the MAGA base. So, and he had really fallen out of favor with this base, which had up until that point never really criticized him and has always been been faithful Elon cheerleaders. So I think now here's where I'm at. I'm about 60% leaning to the idea that he did it basically on purpose, but with just enough like plausible deniability to where he could have this viral moment, troll, like you said, but
100%.
re-ingratiate himself with this further right flank of the Twitter verse, X verse, I guess now that's X,
Right.
MAGA sphere. And so this was all basically, I think, an ill-conceived play by him to win his fans back, and I think it worked. Basically, I mean,
Right.
from what
Well,
I've
I
seen on Twitter.
I think it's hard for me to say like yes, 100% this guy did this on purpose and like an incredibly calculated. I would I mean to take Occam's razor here, right? I mean, I just definitely think like him and his buddies, cuz I hear he doesn't have a lot of friends. Like that from everything I've read about him, he's kind of a loner. He didn't have a lot of like deep personal like relationships. Like the guy apparently just likes to troll and like I have no doubt he got drunk in a room one night, or maybe not. I don't even know if he drinks with his buddies, and he was like, "Wouldn't this be funny? Wouldn't this just be hilarious?"
Oh yeah,
Um,
yeah.
I did not like the some of the responses to it, like the ADL. Once again, famous for their grace and understanding and willing to give people charitable views.
Oh yes, oh yes.
Sticking to their principles, of course. Um,
Uh-huh. Well, they're against defamation, of course.
of
So.
course, right. Yeah, riddle me that. I don't like how their response was like, listen, this may look like a clear and apparent Roman salute, and we appreciate that people are on edge, but basically, Elon will give us all the money we want and support causes that send money to Israel. So, we'll basically allow him to get away with real anti Semitism. Real anti Semitism is completely fine as long as you support Israel, they will defend you, you know?
That does seem to be where the battle lines are drawn.
I mean,
Basically, I think, yeah, they're making a bit of a, well, like many other institutions and celebrities and what have you, they're kind of making a rightward push.
sure.
Uh, so I think that it's just another domino to fall, I suppose. I mean, we I mean, even I was watching Bill Maher, uh, his latest real time episode, and I mean, we all know what Bill Maher is. He's like this, liberal guy. Very famous for being a liberal, and I mean, it sounds like something I would assume would you could find on Fox News. I don't know. I don't really watch Fox News, but I mean, it wouldn't seem far too out of place. And him and Stephen A. Smith was all but berating this Congressman Ro Khanna, who is this liberal Democratic congressman. Forget. I think he's, yeah, California. He kind of represents the Silicon Valley area. But it is interesting just to see how you know, well, yeah, another domino has fallen. More people are shifting to the right in the wake of Trump's win.
Yeah, and just kind of backpack off of that. I definitely think that you're seeing like, they're calling it a vibe change, right? A vibe shift, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's totally apparent. And I think that the guy who recognizes that the most is Donald Trump and Susie Wiles, which is his chief of staff. You might see her in articles. Apparently, Trump likes to call her the Ice Maiden, whatever that means. Yeah, I mean, listen, and I guess this will bring us into our next point is like, what do you think like the goals of like this Trump administration are and like what they should be? Because like I know if it like were me in Trump's spot, I would basically be doing about what he's doing right now, going full attack dog, like just constantly push, 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 throw everything against the wall, like attack, attack, attack to get as much as your agenda passed. And honestly, after the Supreme Court case where they basically said you're immune from a lot of criminal prosecution, why would you not just go absolutely full throttle and get everything you can done, no matter how you have to do it? Because what are they going to do? They're not going to impeach you again. There's no political will for that. Yeah, I mean, I guess I went on a lot there, so if you'd like to respond to literally any of
Well,
that or add on, just have at it.
well, that is interesting, and I don't. And to answer your question, I don't know because during the campaign, uh, I mean, it's really just the way that Trump talks, but he's so enigmatic. It's like what really is his goal? Much was made about this, Project 2025, but of course he tried to distance himself from it. However, I'm being told that elements of it are being pursued, but
Oh yeah,
of course, the hiring list, which was perhaps the biggest part of Project 2025, apparently the people on that list have been pretty well blacklisted from the Trump admin. So, to that extent, I think he is not pursuing Project 2025. And I guess he is going for Agenda 47, which is, I guess, the Project 2025 alternative given by Trump, and I forget all what's in it, but I mean, thus far he has been fairly aggressive. He's done things that have really surprised me in terms of like, well, he pardoned like all those like 1,500 Jan 6
yeah.
prisoners, which was insane. I figured, okay, he's going to pardon some, but not all. Surely not. I mean, because there actually were some people who went a little beyond rowdy. I believe there was one guy in particular who like had a stun gun and like just kept pressing it into the neck of some cop or something. I'm like,
Oh,
well,
totally. And I don't think that we're the only ones that are shocked by the blanket pardon, right? JD Vance at the debate stage and, several nights before Trump's inauguration said, like, of course, violent protesters don't need to be pardoned. And then I think he was caught off a little off guard. And I got to be honest with you, I don't know if you've seen any of the clips where Trump is signing those executive orders. I don't think he knows necessarily what he's signing.
oh
Um,
no, no, yeah, I know what you mean because I saw a clip where he signed one and then he asked after the fact, what was that again? So,
there was one where he signed something and he was talking about the contributions by nations into NATO, right? So like
mhm.
funding it, right? And somebody said, a reporter asked, he said, "Hey, well, what is this executive order going to do about countries like Spain who aren't paying their dues, right?" And he said, "Well, we're going to deal with Spain. They're going to start doing this. They're in BRICS. BRICS. You know about BRICS." And the reporter just looked at him like, "No fucking way. This is the president of the United States." And I guess for the audience who doesn't know, BRICS is not NATO. BRICS is
It's Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. Do I
correct.
have that right?
Correct. Yeah,
I think I have
correct.
that
And
right.
I'm sure that they're adding other countries, but Spain is not. And also, my understanding is that BRICS is not a military alliance. Correct? It is an
Yeah, I
economic
think
one.
it's all economic trade
Versus
trade
NATO
fest.
is almost. I mean, it's literally exclusively a military
Yeah.
alliance between most of Western Europe and pushing further east, but and the United States. He has no idea what he's signing. Um,
Yeah, that was an incredibly worrisome gaffe, I guess you could call it. I hope it was just some kind of boomer like brain fart. I don't know. I mean like because I don't know. I can't conceive that I would mix that up, but you know, maybe if I'm being charitable, I guess, he's like late 70s, so maybe
right.
he was just tired, but that is worrisome if he doesn't know that. Especially since, I mean, well, you know, I think I finally, maybe I wasn't in tune enough, or maybe I was just a little more. sycophantic, so I was unable or perhaps unwilling to see why liberals freak out in the first term about him. But now I'm like, okay, I kind of get it because this kind of segues into the whole Colombia debacle we had recently, where I guess for the viewers, basically this Colombian president refused a deportation flight because it was on a military plane, and he found that undignified. And so Trump immediately responds with a 25% tariff and then a bunch of like visa restrictions and a host of other sanctions targeting like the Colombian president himself and his allies, and I believe family members. And on one hand, I'm like, okay, well, it is our right as the superpower to impose our will, and he does need to accept these flights. But not long after that, the Colombian president threatened a 50% tariff on U.S. goods, or 50% tariff, and I was like, wow. I mean, a trade. I mean, it eventually got resolved. The Colombian president capitulated, but I mean, there was a trade war brewing there for like an hour. Like
Right.
literally, this took place in the span of like an hour. And I'm like, it almost popped off. And we buy like I mean, coffee is like the main thing
Right.
from Colombia, and crude oil, so that's important as well. But you know, I mean, I drink coffee every day. I imagine I probably would feel it a fair amount if there was a 25% tariff imposed on all Colombian goods. So I'm glad it was resolved, but it is a little scary because you never know with him what could happen.
Yeah, 100%, man. 100%. I mean, it's kind of, I mean, don't get me wrong. I don't feel like I have Trump derangement syndrome. Like, am I biased? Like, sure, everyone's biased, but like, I think, like, are you fair? That's the real question to me. Like, are you going to call balls and strikes on the president? I felt like that with Joe Biden. Um, but I feel like, listen, like we were talking about like the goals of this presidency. I feel like most of what Trump is going to try and do these next 4 years is going to fall into like pretty much one of three categories, right? Like
Mhm.
personal enrichment. Well, that's, I mean, obvious, right? Like we'll be able to tell that.
Oh yeah.
Uh,
Oh
the
yeah, he's already accomplished some of that,
Yeah, I mean, the meme coin, right?
but
And
yeah.
then, there's the enrichment of like not just like his friends, but really just the upper class as a whole, right? Like we're going to see all this wealth be taken pretty much from the bottom and the taxpayer and just be shuffled right up to the top. Um, and like I think the final thing, and this is going to be, I think, the most consequential thing, the absolute deconstruction of the administrative state. Um, break an entire agency. I mean, he's talking about getting rid of FEMA. I mean, heck, we already saw he's paused all federal funding, federal spending, right? And I saw that got lifted, and I understand that. But I mean, still, the fact that he's willing to push these limits and see what he can get away with legally is not a great sign if you're anyone who cares about anything about the institutions in this country. Um, what do you think about
Yeah.
any of that? Like,
Well, I think that that's probably the best conception of what his goals are because like I said, I don't really know what he wants. He doesn't strike me as anyone that's particularly ideological. I mean,
right. And that's what makes him difficult.
uh-huh, uh-huh. Yeah, I think personal enrichment and is definitely probably the number one. And then I think, for someone like Trump, he just wants to be president as an end in itself, like not to be president to accomplish some, civil rights, legislation and go down or to like settle some famous conflict like the Israel Palestine issue and then get some like Nobel Prize. I don't think that's the goal of his. I think if anything, like on issues like that, he just wants it to go away so that he can get some relative praise for his presidency. I think being the president is the end in itself. So I don't know, what the next 4 years have in store or what he's going to be pushing, but I mean, who knows? Maybe Barron will drop a meme coin or something.
Yeah, there's no telling with Barron. I just can't believe how tall this kid is.
Oh yeah, it's something insane, like 6'8", right, or
Right.
taller.
I think so. Um, do you have any problems with this upcoming trade war that we're almost certainly going to get in? And you can dive into whichever country you think is the most likely, or just, I guess, tariffs as a whole. Like, because I think that this is a uniquely bad idea, like what he is proposing.
Oh, like the ones that are being proposed against Canada and Mexico.
Yeah, and the one in China.
Oh,
You know,
I hadn't heard. Oh, you know what? I had heard of that, but you've jogged my memory. Uh, yeah. Especially the ones against Canada and Mexico. That just strikes me as a terrible decision. I mean, when I was hearing about this, on the campaign trail, this 25% tariff, I was like, surely this is not going to be levied on like a ton of countries. Surely it's going to be mainly like China, and to an extent, uh, that seems okay. I mean, that's certainly going to drive up a lot of prices. I mean, there's only so much that the profit margins of all these companies, they're not all making above 25%. It's going to be passed on to the consumer to some degree. It won't be the full amount, but it's probably 25% is quite a bit. uh and then the problem with Canada, for example, is that I just don't get the point of it. Like, we're going to impose this tariff on Canada, but to to what end? I mean, why are we like why? I think I might have heard I don't know, maybe I'm just ignorant. I haven't read anything compelling as a reason. I the only reason I've heard is to punish them for their illegal immigration. So I guess every once in a while you'll have an illegal Canadian going down into the USA, which I mean to me seems like such a tiny problem compared to what could be caused by a 25% tariff on them. But
right?
your thoughts? I mean,
Yeah, I mean, I was going over in preparation for this, and it's, China, Mexico, and Canada account for 42% of our imports, right? Um, and those are the three countries that he's thinking about levying the biggest tariffs on, right? But what doesn't make any sense, I think this comes from like a basic misunderstanding of economics. And I mean that like not as like a jab, but like literally. And Ben Shapiro's got a good argument against this for Trump during the first administration. Like Trump thinks that trade deficits are inherently bad. So his way against that, I mean, there's really only one way to hammer that nail, right? And that's through tariffs. That I mean, if you're the president, right? If you're a business owner, you can, make your own company here in America. But
oh yeah.
as the president, the only really hammer you have is the ability to levy a tariff on that country. And really, they try not to do that unless there's a like national security reason for. And I don't understand it. And I don't think that he understands that this will increase prices, which is, I mean, I hate to spoil the fun for a lot of MAGA viewers out there. That is the primary reason he got elected. It had nothing to do with trans rights. It had nothing to do with the border. Oh, I shouldn't say it had nothing to do with the border or trans rights. But I'm the economy was by far. I mean, people are struggling, you know. And if he's going to not, cool down these prices at all, then he is in for a rough awakening once these people eventually either switch their votes or stay home. Because I literally don't understand this because there's good data on the tariffs he did during his first administration, especially on China. They resulted in net U.S. job loss and higher costs for all of the things that required it. So like these are the top three categories of goods from China, Mexico, and Canada. You got machinery, electronics, and automotive. So anytime you buy any of those things or anything that rely on those as like an input cost, that's going to almost certainly increase prices. And
Yeah.
and the
Oh my gosh.
the idea that he's going to use this to get rid of the income tax, if you had to guess, what percent of the federal budget comes from tariffs?
Right now, I'm sure oh gosh, it's got to be in the single digit percentages, right? I mean,
Yeah, it's less than 2%, and it has been for a long time, man.
yeah, yeah. I
And
mean, yeah, yeah,
I
that's crazy.
if I was giving him like my best, like here's what I think that the handlers around him are going to use this as a stick. They're going to use these threats of a tariff as like a stick against China and a stick against Canada to give us cheaper gas and a stick against Mexico so that way they'll help us out with the immigration. Is maybe where I think his head is. Um, but other than that, I mean, like you said, I've got no idea.
Yeah, I mean, if he could articulate a vision in which he says something along the lines of, yes, things will be pricier, but we're doing this because we want to
Nope.
restore domestic manufacturing. We want to bring back a ton of domestic manufacturing. We want to have like this golden age of, I don't know, American factory workers, then,
But that's not
maybe
who
I
he
would be
is.
more inclined. But I mean, that's not really, I mean, it's being semi alluded to, but
No, it is not. Do not. No,
if
Trump's
I'm
not a
being,
visionary here.
well, he
He's not.
says things like, we got to bring back the jobs. I mean, I mean, if
No,
I'm being like totally charitable here, I mean, you
no.
know,
He's
it's
super
kind
not.
of.
He's not going to stare Americans in the face and tell them like, listen, this is going to cause higher prices, but it's going to happen in the contribution of some greater goal, right? That's not who he is. And even if he was, he's not honest enough to tell the American people that yes, you elected me to lower prices and I'm going to actually raise them to your long-term benefit. That's not none of those or who he is or what he's not even capable of that level of thought. Yeah.
Oh yeah, well, I agree that it's not going to happen, but if it were the case that he was saying this, I would be a little more understanding. But just like you said, I mean, I truly just, especially with Canada, it's one of these things where it seems so nonsensical to me. Like, why? Why are we doing this? I just don't get. I I don't get the angle, but uh,
Yeah. So another thing I wanted to mention and I wanted to ask, what's your take on any of these executive orders? Do you have a problem with any of them? Do you love any of them? Like what do you got down?
uh, I think overall they're pretty positive. I mean, we have the. I was hoping he would actually uh pardon a bunch of those J6
You were hoping for
guys.
that?
Yeah, I felt like they really stuck
Are
their
you
neck out for
psychotic?
him. Well, they stuck their neck out for him, and I think they should be rewarded.
Yeah, I mean, listen, you got to be kidding. If he's gonna have any level of brown shirts, then he had to pardon them, right? Like if even the violent ones, right? Like if he wanted any part of that to happen, then he didn't really have much of a choice. But I can't imagine taking the position that like, yeah, it was actually based what he did. That's pretty awesome. Uh,
Well, they did so much for him. It'd be kind of mean to leave them out in the cold like that.
yeah, I guess. What did they ever do? Um,
Exactly. It wasn't that big a deal.
get the fuck out of here. We'll handle that another day because well, hell, probably not. Honestly, that's may
Oh
as well be
yeah.
long forgotten.
Oh yeah. Well, with how fast everything's going, I'm sure it'll get uh, lost in the flurry of happenings. I mean, so much has already occurred. What else? A lot of the executive orders, they're kind of just like, I can live with it. I can live without it. I think transgenders are back out of the military. I don't imagine they were a large portion of our fighting force, anyways. So, okay, that's over. Oh, there were so many. I should have brushed up. How about you? What any key takeaways?
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. There is a little bit of like, okay, he's just virtue signaling a little bit, which is totally like that's part of the game. And then like he's just doing stuff that's blatantly illegal, like ending birthright citizenship. Like clearly that's not going to happen. Right? Like it's an amendment in the Constitution. Like just like we can't take away the First Amendment or the Second Amendment, you can't say the 14th Amendment doesn't exist. You know what I mean? Like
Oh
it's
yeah.
it's like it doesn't. I don't understand. His immigration ones, like I don't have a huge problem with. Like he classified the cartels as a terrorist organization.
Oh
Um,
yeah. I'm total. Sounds good to me. I mean,
yeah, listen,
I mean, honestly, they are terrorists. I mean,
yeah, and listen, and I don't have a problem going after them, as long as we do it in cooperation with Mexico. Which good fucking luck.
oh yeah,
But
yeah.
you
The
know,
current president over there doesn't seem too happy about Donald Trump. Claudia Scheinbaum, I
yeah,
believe is her name.
yeah, and
Interesting name, but
it really must have meant something to her that golf being named what it was. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, she's not happy. From what I've seen on Twitter, who knows? Perhaps I'm being led to believe, led to have an impression of her that isn't true. Who knows? Who knows? Maybe
right,
she's a nice lady. But I think, yeah, I think the other big executive order was basically like reinstating Remain in Mexico and a lot of those
right.
Trump era border policies. Those are all. I'm totally for that. I mean, we let like what 10 million in under Biden. We definitely have to curtail that. I mean, there's certainly a limit to what the state can handle. So yeah, I'm all for that. All the other stuff, nothing else seemed ultra notable. I think the two really notable ones were like the Jan 6 guys, the border policy, and then, or well, I guess three. There's the trans stuff, but nothing else really jumped out at me as being like a big deal.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not super I mean, there was a lot of executive orders, but a lot of it is like rescinding a lot of the Biden stuff and reinvoking stuff that Biden rescinded. I'm uh not super thrilled about really any of it. Large portion of it had to do with DEI. And
Oh yes,
I'm not the
yes.
biggest defender of DEI, but he basically removed the sex discrimination protections. So in other words, like now, like government agencies can discriminate based off sexual orientation and gender identity, which is just absolute, which might violate the Civil Rights Act of 1965. But again, what the fuck are these people gonna do? Um,
Yeah, I guess what he revoked was like that Lyndon Johnson's executive order. or
Oh yeah,
something.
for the equal employment opportunity order.
I had no idea that that was just an executive order.
Well,
I
to be clear, there is a law that they passed later in the 70s. Um, but
That's the
he,
civil rights act of. Oh wait, no, I'm sorry. That was the '60s, wasn't it?
yeah, there is a law based in this that he would have to have Congress repeal, but he at least got rid of the executive order. But who knows? Maybe he thinks that that's enough. Um, I couldn't tell you if Trump thinks that you know executive orders are above the law. Like he probably thinks that that's the hierarchy. But yeah, I mean, I'm not super thrilled with any of this, but I'm also not shocked by any of this either. Um, I'm really more concerned about his legislative agenda, which we don't even know yet, and I don't even think that Republicans know. To be honest with you, they'd be talking about it.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things we're just going to have to find out as it occurs because I have no idea, you know, where he's gonna go. Like let law legislatively or even foreign policy. Like I mean I'm seeing like so many conflicting things just even about like what our policy towards Iran is going to be. It's like, are we going to be buddy buddy with Israel and decide to like bomb them, or are we going to like re-sign the like Obama era nuclear deal?
Well,
What was it, the JCPOA or something? And
yeah,
then
and I doubt he's gonna go back to that, right? Because he's the one who walked out of it. Like there's
oh yeah,
and Biden wasn't. It turns out Biden wasn't super pro nuclear deal to begin with because he was like, "Yeah, I'm not getting back in that."
yeah, I thought that was odd because I that was an assumption of mine that Biden would resume diplomacy with Iran, but yeah, I don't know what the logic is. I guess though when Obama did do that back in his was that, oh my gosh, was that Obama's second term? My history is all messed up. But anyways, I guess that really left a sore taste in the Saudis' throat. They have that long history where the Arabians hate the Persians, so maybe that was one of maybe Biden didn't want to have an even worse relationship with them. Who knows?
Yeah, I was gonna say it. Hard to imagine it could be worse. Well, I mean, is there anything else on executive orders, or is there anything else you'd like to mention?
Um, Nothing really on executive orders. Am I just pining to talk about? Uh, what do you make? I Here's something that's interesting. The That school shooter in Antioch, uh, Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
He was, I forget if he was in a Discord. I think he was Twitter mutuals with Samantha Rupnow, which is that school shooter I believe from last month. December 2024. I don't believe her casualties were very high, but and I forget what state it was in, but it's kind of notable because she's like a biological female school shooter, which is really rare. Normally it's like dudes.
Right.
And but yeah, this guy Solomon Henderson, he was like he knew her, and I looked into it more, and there's like this organization or network, I guess, called 764, and it's like about the most edgy thing you could ever imagine. It's like this like satanic, like Nazi-esque pedophile, kid you not, like uh network, and they like encourage uh like these people to like create like child exploitation material, and then like, or even do crazy things like school shootings, like these two have done. So I mean, I'm I'm wondering if we're gonna see more. I hope not, but I wonder if more of this stuff is coming down the pipeline. Like, are we gonna see more of this in the future? Hopefully, the FBI is keeping a lookout. Who knows?
Well, you can rest assured they're keeping a lookout. It's just, they're not going to do anything about it until after the fact and then have a press conference where they say, yeah, this isn't really a shock to us. This person was on our radar.
Yeah.
It seems to be the usual BS. Yeah, I don't know. I haven't heard much about that story, so I can't really comment on that. Now, is that the one that was the I mean, for lack of a better word, was he not the black white supremacist? Is that not?
Oh yeah, yeah. It's quite the it's quite the combo, but yeah, yeah. He
Yeah, the dude
yeah.
riddled with contradictions. It seemed.
Uh-huh. Did you see his manifesto? It was odd. It was like it was kind of styled similarly to there was one. Do you remember that Christchurch mass shooter in New Zealand? He killed like 50 Muslims.
Uh-uh.
Well, it's just really like horrible, like, but kind of famous mass shooting, and it was live streamed, and this guy just goes into a mosque and like guns down like a whole like crowd of people, like, and they're all like gathering in a corner, and he's just like pumping bullets into them.
Jesus.
But yeah, he killed like 50 people, but his manifesto was like ironic. It was like littered with jokes and stuff. And this guy obviously took inspiration from that, because in that manifesto from Christchurch, the shooter, Brenton Tarrant, he said, I was inspired by Candace Owens, and that's, laughable because Candace is a fairly normal figure. And then this guy, Solomon Henderson, he did something similar, and even the style of it was all just, I don't know, like a weird joke almost. Very odd, very odd. But yeah, you can see how. Yeah, I mean, you can see the legacy of these shootings. They're inspiring more shootings. So, and I mean, he was inspired by this recent one. Was inspired by that Samantha Rupnow,
Right.
whatever state she was in. So, yeah, there's definitely some kind of social contagion going on.
Yeah, I mean, mass shootings in general have gone up as well as, other just all areas of gun violence, like political violence and everything. There is definitely some sort of social contagion going on here. I don't think that there's really any doubt for that. Um, I don't know what you do to I don't this sounds horrible, but mitigate, the number, right? Because at the end of the day,
Yeah.
like we have a Second Amendment. We're not getting rid of guns in this country. It's a fool's errand. Like we just got to figure out how we can mitigate this and work around it because there there's no real way to solve this like comprehensively, I don't think. And you can even go
Oh
to the
yeah.
source. Like I don't think going to the kids and like trying to solve any of their solutions would do you much better off, if I'm being completely honest. And not without being deeply authoritarian, like taking away social media or Discord or electronics from these kids until they're like 16. Um, but
Yeah, I think if you really wanted to solve the problem, you would have to have like a just total crackdown on a lot of civil liberties, but I guess it's kind of a sliding scale almost. I mean, the more access and freedom people are given to these apps and, social life, I mean, the more likely they'll be radicalized or convinced to do something crazy. I mean, but yeah, we kind of I do wonder if we're gonna be in like a new. I hope not, but if we're gonna be entering like a new era of like political or just stochastic, I guess, terrorism, where even like like Luigi Mangione or Mangione. I don't know how you pronounce it, but I mean, at least his wasn't like a mass shooting, but I mean, still, that's a crazy thing to. I mean, and people were really just kind of like supporting it, which is just crazy. But
Yeah, and it kind of the support for him I saw seemed to kind of bleed past political barriers, like I saw plenty of people on the right defend him, and that is something that I was really not expecting.
oh yeah,
Or
yeah,
at least maybe not even supporting him is even the right word, because I don't think there's many like public figures that would tell you like, yes, I think what he did was good. But I think there are millions and millions of Americans that saw what he did, and they at the very least sympathize with his reasoning, you know. Um, and
oh
that's
yeah, yeah.
yeah. I don't I don't know that that's even deniable at this point. And um, of course they're gonna make an example out of this kid and um just go above and beyond because there's I mean, listen, like when you when you kill a CEO of a healthcare industry or a healthcare company, like he's obviously going to have the harshest punishment possible. It's just the way it is.
Oh yeah, and I truly do hope the jury, finds him fully guilty because my fear, which I think it's a long shot, but my fear is that we're gonna get like one of these activists, likely a leftist or someone with an ideology. Oh my gosh, sorry, hiccups. But that gets on the jury and for some reason will just hold out and it'll be like a hung jury and then somehow or other he's given freedom and then it's like a big like terrorist emboldener or something. That is worrisome to me. Like I hope
You know, I
a good
I
example is made out of them.
I did see and it was obviously a long time ago whenever the shooting first happened. They were worried about not being able to find a jury in New York that would work for him or that would find him guilty. They
Oh, I
figured
bet.
they're incredibly worried that any jury they find anywhere in the country is going to be too sympathetic, and that's a problem. That's a real fucking problem.
Uh huh. Yeah.
Um, you know, not to like radically switch, but
Oh no,
speaking,
it's okay. I figured we'd kind of hit the like
no, yeah, you're good.
shooter terrorist topics, so
Yeah.
we've kind of covered it.
Um, I just wanted to ask you, sort of like what sort of democratic opposition do you find to this Trump administration? Like who would you say right now is the leader in the Democratic Party?
Ooh, the leader. Oh my. It's hard to say. I mean, I can't think of one figure because I mean, not neither the past president nor the past vice president are particularly inspirational people. Uh, I
Yeah.
guess when I think Democrat and like then I think faces like I would probably say like just maybe like AOC is like one of the more visible people, and then like I also Elizabeth Warren kind of comes to mind, but
Yeah.
Bernie a little bit, but Bernie and AOC they don't really have as all that much power in their party, so I don't know. I mean, even Obama doesn't really seem to be that big of a figure anymore. It's kind of hard. What do you think?
Yeah, and I think that this is sort of the problem and why we're finding, and I don't know, would you agree? Would you say that right now the state of Democratic opposition to the Trump administration is like relatively weak? Like,
Yeah, yeah, oh, yeah, yeah.
I mean, from my perspective, it's virtually non-existent. There's basically no pushback to anything that's happening right now. And we got Chuck Schumer who takes 50 hours to respond to anything that happened. You know, it's just fucking ridiculous. He's an old man. He's stuck in the 80s, but I don't know that they have a leader right now. And that, you just named off a list of people. Neither of them was the minority leader in the Senate, Chuck Schumer. Neither of them was Hakeem Jeffries in the House, who's the minority leader. And that is terrifying. Like if you're a Republican. Um, because I think one of the strengths the Republican Party had is for the past basically 12 years. I shouldn't say for 12 years, past a little over 8, they've known the face of their party is Donald Trump. They just didn't want to
Mhm.
admit it for 4 years.
Oh yeah, yeah.
With the Democratic Party, man, I feel like there's got to be some sort of like rally around a leader here and find an identity. Because right now, I'll tell you this, the Democratic Party, the problem with them is they don't stand for anything right now. They just stand for opposition to Trump, and that's not really a message. And I think we found out this election that like even if you stand for a bad message, it's better than standing for no message, you know? like it's unbelievable. So they've got to figure out who they are, what their coalition of people are going to be because they've managed to fuck up and lose it all is the problem. And they're going to have to rebuild basically from the ground up and hope that they can do it before the midterms or they're going to get bit in the ass and they may never win another election again because
Well,
it's go ahead.
oh my bad. I wouldn't worry too bad. I think what'll happen is somebody will appear. Like when was it that Obama really kind of just like appeared like as like kind of like the guy who was gonna take uh, take the reins and
You
change
know,
things. It's like 2000. I mean, it was probably what like people probably knew like a year before 2008. So I mean, maybe we don't see that figure until like 2020, 2026, 2027. But
yeah.
I think someone will appear.
Well, so here's my thing. So like after John Kerry lost that election to Bush, right? The Democratic Party had basically tried it their way, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they were desperate looking for a way to change. Like they were forced to adapt, you know? Um they're not even willing to be adaptable right now. I mean, so just to give you like an example of this. So like the House Oversight Committee was trying to find like a ranking member to run it, like a chairman or chairwoman. And I can't even remember the guy's name who beat AOC out for it. But basically, the only reason that they gave it to this person over AOC, which AOC would kill that position. You're talking about a person that could just rant and rave about the Trump administration. That is like her job and someone who can message it, right? And she lost it purely because of seniority. And I guess that's my problem. Like if the DNC chair, whoever wins that race, um, if they're not willing to like accept any form of change or identity, then they're just gonna get fucking clapped again and again and again, and they're not gonna win these fucking elections anymore. Um, until they're forced to, which I don't know that they're there yet, but I mean, who knows? Maybe they'll be forced to do it.
I I think surely they'll have learned. I mean, maybe I'm being too nice. I don't know. Surely they've learned their lesson after this cycle that next time around they're gonna have to have someone really energetic. Uh, I got your text. I am drinking, but I think
No, you're
it's
good.
Coke. It's Coke. I don't know if that's helping my hiccups, but all that being said, yeah, I think somebody will come around and surely they'll have learned their lesson. I mean, how long can these boomers cling on to power? Surely it's coming to an end. I don't know, but
Yeah, yeah, no, God, I hope you're right. God, you know, and there will be some form of like a civil war for the presidency race in 28, but fuck, dude, I hope we have a clear vision before then, because if not, we're fucked. As a Democratic Party, we're fucked. Um, I know you don't identify as a Democrat, but um,
oh yeah, to me it doesn't matter all too much, but I I will say, I will say I think if I could well, I was about to say, well, if I could see like a really moderate Democratic Party on social issues, bring back like the silly, the excesses of woke, I mean, the pronouns stuff and all that is just kind of repellent, I think, to just like people like me and I guess just normal people who just have some natural disinclination towards things like that. I like the economic pol- policies more so of the Democrats. I favor that more. I think my problem with the Democrats is more just they seem to empower like the worst people in my mind. So I hate to see them win, but that
there's no way you just fucking said that about the Democratic Party and not the Republican Party. Are you fucking kidding me? We got, listen, do you have any idea? I mean, fucking peak Headseth is who's getting confirmed right now, and you're gonna sit here and tell me that, well, you
well,
know, the Democrats are actually the worst people in office. Get fucking real, dude. Like
okay,
that's ridiculous.
well, I didn't mean worst in their personal lives
Do you think that there's a single God fuck? Do you think that
because
there's a Democratic person in leadership right now that could tell you that Spain was in BRICS and not in NATO? Do you?
I'm sure most all of them could, but my thing is my thing is with the Democrats, it's not a. I will say their personal lives are actually pretty well maintained. Like, yeah, I mean, take the Clintons for example. That's actually kind of in some ways, an aspirational, waspy type family. Uh, but I mean, I think it's more so like when I say the worst people, I kind of mean like the base. Like I just find
Ah,
I find
the degenerates.
yeah, I just find the base of the Democratic Party to be just a little intolerable and a little
Once again, we are talking. You mean to tell me the base of the Democrats is what's intolerable?
well,
Are
I
you
will
fucking
admit
mad? Are you fucking crazy there?
I'm the first one to say there's problems on both sides, but
Are you? I'll fucking kill you. You're gonna tell me there's problems on both sides? You're gonna tell me there's problems on both sides? That's insane. We're talking.
well, I will. There is a strain of mountain people, redneck hillbilly on the Republican side, and certainly a strain of ill-informed people who are perhaps not super intelligent, but I find them more relatable
No,
than the uh,
no, no,
than the
Garrett, no. Listen,
than like the Brooklynite with like master's degree in gender. I mean, okay, I'm sounding like a boomer Republican here, but
Yeah, you think so? Yeah, I mean, Jesus. Listen, I understand that there are dipshits on both sides here, all right, but I'm just saying, like, if we were to measure the even just the basic level of like political awareness of like the blue-haired barista at Starbucks versus like, the average like redneck in Mississippi, like it's not even close. Like who's more competent, who's more like well read, like and I'm not even saying that it's a high bar for us. It's not, but the bar is so low for you guys. Um
well, you're
and
not
it's
wrong. You're
only
not.
gotten worse the more the more access to information you guys have because you don't know how to discern between fact and bullshit. Like it's a huge problem.
Well,
Which is why a guy like Trump can even fucking exist is because he can just say 50 fucking lies, and then
I,
these people are like, well, he said that really well. And then they
well,
just
I will say there is a conspiratorial and uninformed strain of the right, without a doubt. But I think it's kind of like exaggerated because they're like in this like personality cult with Trump. But I think that conspiratorial strain it basically exists on roughly the same level. Well, maybe not the same level, but a similar level within the Democratic Party. They have there is a blue MAGA. There is a blue MAGA.
Yeah, and I just think that the difference is like the blue MAGA is running around, trying to give everyone free health care and trying to support the rights of workers, and then like red MAGA is trying to deport anyone who's not the right shade of white. Like like it's super not the same, I don't think. And I think that. I think that that's apparent.
I will say if we're talking about matters of degree, the left, I don't think they have anything quite on the level of QAnon, where they believe like RFK Jr. is going to
Dude,
come to back from the dead. So
QAnon is not even possible on the left because it's just not. They're not. We're not enough conspiracy minded to. We're not even enough sheep minded to fucking go through something like that. Like the idea that we could even potentially fall for that is just absurd, right? And that's 25%. What is it? Do you think 25% of the Trump base in 2020?
oh, there's no way.
You don't think so?
No possible way is it that. I would be surprised if it was even 1%.
No, no, not of the country. I just want to be very clear. Of the Republican affiliates, what percent of those believed in QAnon conspiracy theories or believed in Q or whatever, and you think that
I
number
think
is 1%? You're fucking delusional.
I
You're
think
fucking delusional.
full QAnon cult cultists who were like eagerly awaiting the Q drops and waiting for the littlest tidbit.
Oh, see, now you're
That's
shifting.
no, because you were being a little too broad. You said anyone who believed in a QAnon tier conspiracy. Well, there's quite a few people that believe in at least one QAnon tier conspiracy. I
Because
mean,
they're
think
fucking
about
idiots. Because they're fucking
think about
idiots.
how many Americans believed the moon landing was fake. That's quite a few. But there's pretty reasonable people who believe that. There's
No, there's
certainly
not.
no.
there's,
What
there's,
do you mean?
there's a bunch of fucking morons who are
Oh my
pretending to
god!
be reasonable. Why are you carrying water for these people? These fucking I don't understand it. Like you're carrying water for the dumbest fucking voting block in the country, and I don't know why. They're gonna.
it, even with how dumb that many of them certainly are, I find them more charming and probably a little more easy to get along with than like the oh, like the anti-white, like radical, like oh, like left, oh, Marxist leftist. I don't know. There
No,
there is a.
I get what you mean. I guess. I
I
guess.
mean, I just find that so intolerable, and then the fact that those people will, without a doubt, vote Democrat, and even if their particular ideology really isn't represented in uh, any of the elected officials I can think of. Just the fact that that person would have more of a voice is so like repellent to me. I just can't do it. So it doesn't mean I'll be like a cheerleader for whatever's going on the right, but
Well, listen. I guess just to close here, the idea that you would not support the Democratic Party because their base is intolerable and annoying, and they have blue hair, Wyatt. They have blue hair, Wyatt. It's just, I think it's juvenile. That's
well,
ridiculous, you
well,
know.
I
And
could, if
listen,
the
and
right candidate came along. If the Kamala wasn't it, I
let,
didn't. I voted for neither of
right.
those this time around. Kamala wasn't it, but if the right person came around and articulated the right policies and had a style to them that wasn't just repellent and offensive to my somewhat conservative sensibilities, and I,
Right.
I would probably I would
Well,
support.
unfortunately for you, I think the Democratic Party is going a little bit backwards from what you want. I think they're going to go further, left on social issues, right? And then they're going to go further right on the economic issues, which you love. Or maybe not love, but at least you prefer. So I don't I don't see this as getting better for you. Because the you're going to have to tolerate less of what you want economically and more of what you want culture wise, which hey, I understand, and I'm not saying I don't have beefs with some of the left that you're talking about. I'm just saying I'm not gonna put the I mean, listen, there's quite a difference between like you said, like the base and the elected official, I think.
Oh yeah, yeah, there is. We I can only think of maybe one or two elected officials off the top of my head that just drives me up the wall in terms of how insane they make me feel. But you know, so it's not a big portion, but it's a very vocal and annoying portion.